Good morning. Welcome both here in the sanctuary and online to the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg Sunday service. We're currently on the unceded ancestral lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole Native people. I'm Ben Atherton Zeman. I'm the minister here, and I'm so excited for this morning's worship service. Gigi Khalsa, who is one of our greeters today and is a new member, is going to do a view from the pew. Gigi is Sikh, S-I-K-H, and so she's going to talk about that. And we have a wonderful worship associate who has also volunteered to be the worship team chair next year. Allison Lonke is here. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Ben. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Allison.
You guys are great. If you want a church which believes that Black lives matter, love is love, and all genders are whole and holy, you may have found your church home. If you want a church where your unique beliefs and perspective of the world is met with curiosity, not competition, I have good news for you. You may have found your church home.
Thank you, Allison. Now, May is Older Americans Month, so those of us who are older Americans, it's our month. And Reverend Bob Murphy, who some of you know, invites us to the Sunshine Center activities right across Mirror Lake. May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and today is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. Yesterday, we just celebrated the pagan festival Beltane. It was nice to see some of you at the Beltane Cups celebration. And here's the maypole we all danced around. And today is also Cinco de Mayo, which commemorates the Mexican victory over the French who were trying to colonize Mexico in 1862.
We are up to 4 announcements this week.
Oh my gosh.
The LGBTQIA+ brunch will take place around 12:30 in Gulfport at the Neptune Grill. So Ben is having a special ceremony in a couple weeks. I forgot the word, but we're keeping him.
Installation. Installation.
We gotta install him. So make sure you bring your tools. But there is a sign-up sheet for any food, goodies, or drinks that you'd like to bring. So that's in 2 weeks. If you're interested, please sign up at the table right on the other side of those doors.
It is water communion next week, so please bring some water from home or from some place that you find sacred. And then our final 4th announcement, there is a lovely typo on our order of service. Anything worth doing is worth doing imperfectly. And today's typo is the anthem, Turn on the Light of Your Love by Donna Starr, sung by Donna Starr and David. It'll be hard for them to sing it because they're out of state. I would have them sing that every week because it's lovely, but that is not what we're doing. In fact, we're doing no hymns today. John will tell you what we're doing in a moment.
Ooh, suspense. As Unitarian Universalists, we are a people of diverse beliefs, but we share a common faith, a faith that every person is worthy of love, that what we do in this world matters, that we are connected to one another and to the earth.
We want to give a special welcome to any newcomers. I was just chatting with some of you. Will you wave in the air so that the others know they're not the only ones? See, other hands waving. Good to see you. Yes, newcomers are here, and 2 people clap for you. There we go. Now, sometimes we have time, and I can bring a microphone to you, and you can say a sentence or whatever about why you're here, but we have a lot, so we're not going to do that today, but if you come back next week, think about whether you want to do that.
Okay, so thank you everyone for silencing your cell phone. Regarding masks, if you'd like one, they are available at either entrance. We're about to greet our neighbors, so remember to ask for consent before giving someone a hug or shaking their hand. Go ahead, you can talk to each other now, we're good. No.
All right, so I was up next, so I'll do Williams. be that loud.
Good morning.
Good morning, John.
How do they greet each other in India, Ben?
Namaste or namaskar. I
Oh,
think.
namaste.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do something a little different today. Instead of singing hymns, we're going to be doing some chanting. And we're going to remain seated while we do this. This is a meditative call and response kind of chanting. It's called kirtan, and it's practiced all over India by people of many faiths. I'll sing a phrase, and then we'll all sing it. And then I'll sing a phrase again, and then we'll all sing it. Get the idea? Yeah, good. The first chant is called Raghupati, and Hindus sing this to honor the mythological god Rama and his partner Sita. And it's okay if you close your eyes during this, and don't worry if you start to snore, we'll wake you up. Raghupati Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Everybody, Raghupati Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupati Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupati Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupate Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupate Raja Rajaram Patita Pavaram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupate Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupate Raga Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram.
Please stand as you're willing and able for the lighting of our chalice. Our flaming chalice is a reminder that we believe our time today is sacred. And I believe William is, thank you. I don't think I lit the lighter candle. So if you light the lighter candle, and then William will light our chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found in your programs online. They are in the text chat. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You may be seated, and I invite the children to come forward along with Aaron for our time for all ages.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Aaron.
All right, so for our story today, okay, friends here, do y'all want to see what I've got? Does anybody know what this is? Got this mysterious jar of blue liquid. Do any of my friends down here have an idea of what this might be? Okay, Ashby. Slime. Good guess. Anything else? Yes. Liquid. Definitely, it's moving like liquid. Any other ideas? Yeah, and what else? It's not oobleck either, but y'all have some really good ideas. So, this is something that a lot of people might call a mind jar. And what it is, it's a really fun tool for meditation, for maybe just some calming, anytime you might need to focus on just one thing. Sometimes that's kind of difficult. So what you get to do with this mind jar, we can see it's kind of blue and swirly, a little bit, but if I give it a shake, okay, now y'all here in front, it spins around like a tornado. There's glitter. What else do we see? Yeah. Oh, it kind of looks like clouds. Okay, now as I stop shaking it, now what is it doing? It's stopping. Yeah, Ashby? It's dissolving. Yeah, Isabella, what is it? Yeah, like blue waters, like maybe the ocean, right? That feels calming. But sometimes our minds, do your minds ever feel like this? Kind of swirling, things are moving too fast. Yeah, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And sometimes it's hard to get our minds to be calm and still, like this was when we started, right? So a mind jar then is a tool when you can shake it to make all the glitter and pretty swirly, pearly looking stuff. Yeah, you can make it look like it matches how your mind feels in the moment. And then you set it somewhere where it can sit nice and still, and you can breathe and look at all the swirlies. And as you watch it calm, you help your mind calm down too, right? And so this is a way to meditate, and there are lots of different ways to meditate. The peoples, the Sikh and the Hindus and the Buddhist people have ways to meditate. Some of them are similar, and some of them are different. And using a mind jar is a way to meditate that helps us calm our minds. That might be similar to other traditions, but we can use different tools. And so there's really no wrong way to meditate, but the important thing is to find the way that works for you. And you can totally use a jar full of glitter and crystally pretty slimy things to help your mind calm down. Yeah, whatever it takes. All right, so Isabella, we're gonna head off to our classes now and to go have some more fun in RE. And so, but thank you so much for all of your ideas and questions. And now we will head off to RE as we sing our children out.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Now we come to the time in our service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. If anyone has a minute or they're in the middle of filling out a card, if you have one, you can bring it up to me or to Allison. Please remember, this is not a time for announcements. Thank you. But for sharing what's in your heart. And for those of you watching the live stream, you're not here physically, but your presence is felt. Please put your joys, your sorrows, your concerns into the text chat.
Right now, Lucinda will place a stone in the water for each one that was submitted this week. The ripples emanating from the stones remind us that the impact of our lives can ripple throughout our community.
I'm late. 2 stones of joy from Virginia and Cal Fox. You're here somewhere. Where did you go? There they are. Virginia and Cal Fox tell us that 37 years ago, they became husband and wife. Congratulations, happy anniversary. They say it's a perfect fit that keeps on growing. They also said 7 years, they moved to St. Pete and found UU St. Pete. So a stone of joy for the perfect fit of faith, friendships, and service to others. Congratulations.
A stone of sorrow and concern from Cheyenne Hala. Cheyenne says these stones are, quote, for my peers who were tear gassed and brutalized by police on their campus while peacefully protesting, and the lack of support from the community.
In submitting these stones this week, Cheyenne quoted from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail that the, quote, great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, end quote. Cheyenne said the quote is especially meaningful, seeing how students were arrested while protesting at MLK Plaza.
A stone of joy from Janae Johnson. Elia Zittner, our youngest religious education teacher, has been with UU St. Pete for a year now.
Hey, Elliot. They're in the other room, but stone of sorrow from Linda Opedisano, who says, my best friend Tammy Carter Boudelier passed unexpectedly. I have a guardian angel now. I'm sorry for your loss.
I have a stone of concern from Claudia Sunman. William Cowan, selfless helper and soup chef for our Friday suppers, is about to be homeless himself. His roommate died this past week. He had promised William money from his estate and the car upon his death. None of these promises have been kept. William needs a new, inexpensive place to live ASAP. Please spread the word.
And a stone of sorrow from Robbie Sutton, who says, my friend Noah lost her mother to cancer this week. Her passing came less than 2 months after diagnosis. It's a reminder to not take those I love for granted, says Robbie. Tomorrow is not promised. Tell them you love them today. So let's bring to mind and hold close to our hearts those who were tear gassed and arrested, including our own Jake Gaffon at USF, also Cal and Virginia Fox, also Elliot Zitnyar, William Cowan, Robbie's friend Noah, and Noah's late mom, Linda's friend Tammy. All those of us who are known and who are unknown, and I know there are more of you who are facing challenges, facing health concerns. And let's together read our responsive reading, which was written by John Motter. May our hearts not become calloused by the never-ending incidences of oppression and hatred that so many face each day.
Rather, may we keep our hearts open to the positive efforts of so many people causing good trouble in the world. May we have the strength to demand and gain the right for all people to have a safe place to sleep, health care to keep them strong, and the knowledge that their lives matter.
The struggle is taking longer than it should, but we will get there if we continue to strive for basic human rights. May all of us find a comforting and compassionate presence in the warmth of fellowship and of community. And Lucinda, if you could put one more stone in for those joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to yet be spoken out loud. Of course, the mystery is that we are connected even when we feel apart. So let's rejoice in the beloved community that makes of the many one. And let's take about a minute of silence together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Ben and I will now read one part of the suggested Article 2 changes to UUA's bylaws.
For those of you who are new, UUA stands for the Unitarian Universalist Association. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
We respect our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect.
Thanks, Allison. Hopefully some of you at this point have met our new member, Gigi Khalsa. Gigi is Sikh, that's S-I-K-H. Some of you may have been pronouncing it Sikh. It's actually pronounced Sikh, and the practice is called Sikhi. Gigi, thank you for being willing to share your story with us.
Thank you. I imagine the main thing that you want to hear from me is how and why I became a Sikh. In 2011, I swore an oath to live by the teachings of the Sikh faith, to serve and defend those in need, and to believe there is one God, or Guru, or Ekankar, whom we are all a part of, and whom we see when we look at any person. This meta-divinity emanates like light and is the doer of all things. Without hate or fear, neither male nor female. These are the first words of the Sikh sacred scripture, the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, and the essence of the Sikh faith. The Sikh scriptures are poetry gathered from Kabir, Sufi mystics, 6 Sikh gurus, saints, both Hindu and Muslim, and poets organized as hymns or shabads and set to a rag, reflecting a mood with a traditional Indian musical scale and rhythm. The Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib is written in Gurmukhi script, but the shabads were written in many different languages, including Punjabi, Sanskrit, and Persian. World religions are often organized into 2 categories, Dharmic and Abrahamic traditions. Sikhi falls into the Dharmic tradition along with Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, the essential goal of all 3 being to live according to one's dharma. Key elements of Sikhi include monotheism and belief in reincarnation. To live according to Sikh Dharma entails fulfilling one's moral duty. A Sikh maintains their moral duty by acting with integrity. In addition to acting with integrity, one is to be guided by principles of equity, social justice, honesty, and compassion. Sikhs are bound to stand against caste, and within Sikhi we take the same middle name, either Kaur or Singh, to celebrate our self-sovereignty and equality. In Sikhi, divine will is individually discerned between each person and their God. No emissaries, priests, or pope-like figures negotiate boons. This autonomy and belief in the right to choose one's faith is essential within the Sikh world. In 2005, I had a crisis at work. I was the information specialist on a project to build information resources at a collaboration of medical schools in Boston. I was pressured to gather specific resources and write from a specific perspective and position. One of my colleagues from the research department was summarily dismissed. It felt like a hostile environment. I believed I needed to be rooted in myself and my perceptions of what was going on amidst the innuendo and posturing. I sought out a place where I could do yoga, not as exercise, but as spiritual practice. And after searching the Boston suburbs, I found a yoga center at an ashram in Millis, 12 miles southwest of the city. Situated in the middle of 20 acres of classic New England farmland, the ashram's community center was surrounded by hayfields, gardens, streams, and co-housing. Yoga classes were held daily in the community center, and driving over the Charles on my way, I could feel stress just melting away. Each class included chanting and meditation. The chants and meditations they explained were from a language called Gurmukhi, rather than Sanskrit, as the original teacher of this yoga lineage came to the US from the Punjab and was a Sikh rather than Hindu. As I learned more about the story behind the yoga, I noticed other rooms at the community center where people gathered. One evening in the winter of 2005, I entered one of those rooms and joined people who were listening to a woman read from a very large, what looked like to be a book. We all sat on the floor. Shortly, they broke into song. Someone passed me a photocopied sheet of paper with lyrics so I could sing along. Still the good you, I read those lyrics. They stood, I stood. For many years, I held that I was agnostic or atheist and could not find a definition of God that made sense to me. Here on the page in my hand was described a God I could be with, without compromise, neither male nor female, described as being like light, connecting people across the universe. When it was over, I felt grounded and I wanted to learn more. I kept returning to these Gurdwara services and to the free kitchen that the Sikhs ran, feeding congregants as well as neighbors. I learned I had come in during the closing ceremony at the end of an Akhand Path, the continuous reading of the Sikh scriptures. For 3 days and 2 nights, people take shifts reading from all 1,430 pages of the scriptures and tend the space and comfort of those who've come to read and listen. And there was always dal, rice, roti, and chai on the stove. Sikhs are sometimes described as spiritual warriors, and in Sikh Gurdwara, where services are held, you'll frequently find historical weapons displayed. In Sikhi, the enemy is seen not as an external force, but internal. And these weapons are reminders to stand for what is right and to provide aid. The true enemies in Sikhi, or vices as they're called in English, are anger, lust, greed, worldly attachment, and ego. Sin is understood as separation from the divine. Pap, in Gurmukhi is the word, and comes from these vices, or attachment to these vices. I kept showing up at Gurdwara, and that's essentially how I became Sikh. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. Ganesh is the most popular, one of the most popular gods in the Hindu mythology. His prevalence stretches beyond Hinduism to Buddhism. You may recognize the elephant head. That's Ganesh. He symbolizes a remover of obstacles, new beginnings, master of wisdom and intellect, and a patron of the arts and sciences. You made me realize we should have printed out the words. They are Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesh Jaya. Shri Ganesh. Ganesha Jaya. You got it. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesh Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Again. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha, Ganesha, 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 Ganesha Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha, Ganesha, Ganesha Jaya. Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha, Ganesha, Ganesha Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya. Om Jai Shri Ganesh, Shri Ganesha Jaya.
Thank you. So, Gigi's reflection was so moving. Thank you, Gigi. And I'm so thankful that you were willing to share with us today. Something you spoke about that I'm hoping to expand on is the meaning of the word dharma. To be clear, dharma has many meanings to many people. It is an ancient word that's changed over time and across cultures. Dharma is rooted in the word D-H-R-I, dry, to support, and its core essence is that which supports. Within dharmatic religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhi, and Jainism, dharma generally implies support from within. This contrasts Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, or Islam that is focused on an externalized God. In its earliest use, the word dharma represented cosmic law, the rules that brought structure into a universe of entropy and chaos. In a religious sense, dharma embodies our moral responsibility to live righteously and dutifully in a way that upholds this structure and prevents the fall into chaos. The Bhagavad Gita is one of Hinduism's sacred texts, and it reinforces this moral imperative to duty and selfless service. I selected a few passages from throughout the scriptures that, to me, encapsulate this dharmatic responsibility. These words are spoken by Krishna, who reveals himself as an incarnation of God in the text. Human nature is made of faith. A person is what his shraddha is, that which is placed within the heart. By performing one's own work, one worships the Creator who dwells in every creature. It is better to perform one's own duties imperfectly than to master the duties of another. Through selfless service, you will always be fruitful and find the fulfillment of your desires. This is the promise of the Creator. I imagine dharma as that feeling inside that bolsters your resolve and says, this is what I am, this is what I stand for, and these are my duties in this world. I see it as the pool of the spirit, that deep calling that's beyond rational thought. There's an old story that encapsulates the concept of Dharma. It encapsulates it well. An old sage sat by the Ganges River when he noticed that a scorpion had fallen in. He reached down and rescued it, only to be stung. Sometime later, he looked down and saw the scorpion thrashing in the water again. Once more, he reached down to rescue it, and again, he was stung. A nearby witness exclaimed, "Holy One, why do you keep doing that? Don't you see that that wretched creature will only sting you in return?" The sage responded, "When a scorpion, bound by its nature to sting, cannot forsake its instinct, how can I, as a sage, abandon my inherent nature, which is to uplift and save those in need? It is the dharma of a scorpion to sting, but it is the dharma of a human being to save." I invite you all here to reflect on your dharma. I hope that as a congregation, we have the courage and the calling to do what's right, regardless of the stings, slings, and arrows that which we face.
We have one last chant. This is my favorite. It was actually Gandhi's favorite, too. I'm playing a harmonium here, which is like, do you remember the old pump organs they had in the parlors where you did this with your feet and you pulled out these stops? This is like a portable version of that. People would have these on ships, and when Gandhi did his famous march, there was a harmonium along so that they could do chanting. This honors the Hindu god Rama and the goddess Sita. And this is a fun one. I'm recruiting for the choir, by the way, Tuesday night. We want to have a big group to sing at Ben's installation on the 25th. So there's rehearsal this Tuesday at 6 o'clock right over here. Any takers? Raise your hand, please. Oh. More, please. Oh, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Sita Ram, 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 Sita Ram. You got it. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Sita Ram, 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 Sita Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai 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 Ram. Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram. Sitaram, 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 Shiram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shiram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shiram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shiram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Harmonium. This is a wonderful way to start off our May theme. We have themes at the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Pete, and our May theme is the gift of pluralism. Now, most of you know I received my Master's of Divinity from the Boston University School of Theology, where Dr. King became Dr. King. It was there that I learned of the term holy envy, sometimes called religious envy, where one is willing to recognize elements of other religious tradition that one admires and perhaps could in some way be reflected in your own religious tradition or faith. Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor wrote a book called Holy Envy based on her experiences teaching a world religions class in rural Georgia. Taylor writes in the book about a student that comes into her office on the last day of the ad drop period. The student asked Taylor if she were Christian. She said that she was. The student then asked her if her world religions would cover the fact that Christianity is better than all the other religions. She said the class would not. He dropped the class. Now, Unitarian Universalists don't tend to be Christian supremacists. At best, we approach religious traditions with a respectful curiosity. Earlier this morning, Allison used the phrase curiosity, not competition. And in our efforts to be welcoming to all, we sometimes put world religious symbols on our t-shirts or in our congregations. Our UU St. Pete t-shirt that many of you own features symbols from Buddhism, from Islam, from humanism, from Judaism, paganism, Taoism, and our own UU chalice in the center. And some UU churches still feature world religious symbols on their chancel, and some of the artwork in some of those chancels is gorgeous. However, such a roll call of world religions runs the risk of cultural appropriation. So specifically, a white guy like me, raised nominally Catholic in the United States, can't speak with much authority about religions in Asia. So I will not be giving you any kind of World Religion 101 about any of these religious traditions today. Edward Said, a Palestinian-American philosopher and academic, coined the phrase Orientalism in his writings when referring to Western depictions of Asian or African religious traditions. Cynthia and I were talking about this yesterday. According to Said, Orientalism generally emphasizes exoticness and otherness and often employs tropes of ancient wisdom, mystery, and sexuality to do so. I'm not a Buddhist, I'm not Sikh, I am not Jain, and I'm not Muslim, I'm not a Hindu. But I have been fortunate enough to be welcomed into homes, into religious observances, into locations of worship by friends and acquaintances from all those religions and more. And when I am welcomed, I try as best I can to approach these experiences with curiosity, with awe, with reverence, with appreciation rather than appropriation. And I experience more than holy envy. When I bow next to my Muslim brothers and say Allahu Akbar, or if I spin Buddhist prayer wheels in Nepal, I feel a genuine sense that I am worshiping right alongside those who worship in this fashion every day. Now, maybe this is hubris on my part. Maybe I am unintentionally practicing my own form of Orientalism. I do try to appreciate rather than appropriate. But given the fact that I was raised white in the culture in the United States, I'm certain that I fall short. And I appreciate you and others for helping me do better. I'm thankful that our own Gigi Khalsa was willing to talk about her experiences as a Sikh. And later this month, we will welcome the St. Petersburg poet and activist Sam Obeid to talk about her experiences being raised Hindu and her current practice of Islam. This past January, I did lead a social justice and religion trip to Nepal and India, and I will do it again, most likely in the summer of 2026. I hope some of you will come with me. Our first stop was in Kathmandu, and I brought everyone to the Buddhist shrine called the Bodhanath Stupa. I posted a short video from the stupa this morning, so maybe you got a little sense of it. It's much bigger than this sanctuary. It's a large circular shrine that takes up about a city block, and there are hundreds and hundreds of flags like these, except much bigger flags, much bigger ropes. Now, the stupa was apparently built sometime between the 4th and 7th centuries. It's a popular place for both Nepali people and tourists. And every time I come back to Kathmandu, turn the corner, see the stupa, all my senses are engaged. The way Aaron engaged the children with the swirling clouds, my senses are engaged by so many things. I smell burning incense and herbs, and there's places you can buy the herbs and fires you can put them in so you can contribute to the smell. I see thousands of flickering flames in chalices like these. And for 10 rupees, which is about 7 cents, I can purchase a chalice that has wax and a wick in it, light it, say a prayer, and set it down next to the thousands of other chalices. It costs more if I want to keep the chalice. I hear the chanting of many people. I join them as they walk, always clockwise, around the stupa, spinning prayer wheels, spin, 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 with our right hands as we chant, the air thick with incense. And some walk faster, some walk slower, some don't spin the prayer wheels, some try to get every one. Sometimes this wall of prayer wheels stops and there's an opening. You can go into the inner circle of the stupa. I always try to visit a very small monk that I have come to know through the years. He makes me a necklace and a bracelet as he sits next to a giant prayer wheel, the largest prayer wheel I have ever seen. I thank him with the donation. He blesses me, I bless him, and we move on. Now, this remarkable Buddhist shrine is surrounded by many Hindu and Jain temples in Kathmandu, and one small Hindu temple near our hotel had many candles lit in chalices, much simpler than the brass ones. There were empty chalices lying on the ground next to the ones that were lit. And I asked one of the staff, "What do you do with those?" And he said, "We throw them out." And I said, "Can I have them?" And he said, "Sure." So I went around and I collected a whole bunch of these. They're over there, and I'll be afterwards in the receiving line if you want one. I hope you take one that speaks to you. The ones that are used kind of have this feeling of the wax in them, so you get that if you take it home. Again, a sensory experience. Then we flew to New Delhi, toured the large and famous Sikh temple. It's also called Gurdwara, but this one's called Gurdwara Bangla Sahib. And my group and I were taking off our shoes and getting ready to go in. We were approached by an Indian woman, slightly older than me, and at first I thought she was one of the many people who were there trying to sell me something. But Mrs. Sok, it turns out, worked for the temple. We just were lucky enough to meet her at the moment we were going in. We ended up getting basically a backstage pass tour to the temple. We participated in reading of the 6 scriptures. The scriptures, at least in this one, they come out, they're brought out from the room. They have their own room where they sleep. Did yours sleep? Yeah, so the scriptures at a certain time of day get taken reverently to their own room where they get to sleep for a couple hours before they come out, and then they go back to work. So they're viewed as alive, sentient beings. And we got the backstage pass tour to where they were cooking basically a giant version of, I think, the food that you had, in pots that were as big as this piano, for thousands of people who came to eat for free every day. As we exited the temple and said goodbye to Mrs. Suk, we met up with a girl I've known for 10 years. Young Shivani makes and sells these necklaces, and I usually buy many of them. I have those with me, and I hope you'll take one today, along with a short story about Shivani and our connection. Next day, we took the train to Agra to tour the Taj Mahal and meet up with my friends who run a cafe called the Shiro's Hangout. The cafe is run by survivors of acid attacks. In India and other places, liquid acid is sold and is an easy way to commit violence against girls and women. The survivors who run the cafe are from different religions, and in the cafe, they're able to tell their stories and show their scarred faces. In other parts of the community, there's pressure for them to hide their faces. The day we took the train back to New Delhi happened to be a very significant day that maybe some of you read about in the news. We encountered many Hindu nationalists waving orange flags and praying to the Hindu god Ram, I think sort of a more militant version of the chants we were saying. That day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had fulfilled a campaign promise he'd made. Modi opened a Hindu temple on the site of a former Muslim mosque, and this mosque was destroyed in 1992 during riots, during which nearly 2,000 people were killed, mostly Muslims. Once our train arrived in New Delhi, we saw even more orange flags, heard lots of firecrackers, witnessed jubilant Hindu people dancing in the streets, and I wondered, how do Muslims feel today? How do other people who are not Hindu feel today? Next day, I had lunch in my favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant near our Airbnb. There were only 2 tables, and one of them was occupied by a young man wearing a turban. I said, "Mr. Singh, would you mind if I joined you?" As Gigi told us earlier, maybe Sikhs are named Singh, and I had guessed right about his name. He laughed, waved me over. We spoke about how great the food was there, even though it cost next to nothing, about his job working for the government, his research on the effects of air pollution, his family, his hopes for marriage, and eventually I did get around to asking if he was in town yesterday. He said yes, he was. I asked him what it felt like hearing those firecrackers, seeing all those flags, those orange flags. And he kind of looked around, and he looked at me and he said, "I can't talk about it here. I really like this restaurant, and I want to come back, and it wouldn't be safe for me to come back if I talked about it here." A week later, we were in South India. My host there is my friend Dr. Ram, Krishna Kumar Ramachandran. He's Hindu, and I asked him about the day of the temple opening, and he paused for a long time, and he finally said this: "I am a Hindu religiously, not politically." There's no real easy way to tie these stories in a bow that's neat, but I do want to close by reminding us of our interconnectedness. Perhaps my dharma, as Allison would term it, is to connect with people, try to understand their lives, have empathy for them. What's your dharma? Even though they're on opposite sides of the world, I feel Dr. Ram's presence. I feel Shivani's presence, many others. And thanks to WhatsApp, I can communicate with Shivani. She can neither read nor write, so between visits, that's all I hear. But now she calls me on a video call and shows me her kids and shows me her mom, and Lucinda and I can wave and send our love. Now, I'm guessing I'm not the only one here who has Hindu friends, Muslim friends, Sikh friends. You may be yourself Muslim, yourself Hindu, yourself Sikh. What have you learned from those friends? What have you learned from those family members? I am a product of my culture in the United States, even as they are in Nepal and in India, and their lives include an overlap between religion and politics, an overlap between the religions themselves, some exclusivity, but a lot of inclusivity, some suffering, and a lot of resilience. I hope some of you can come with me in 2026 so I can introduce you to Shivani, to my acid attack survivor friends, to Dr. Ram. I hope you can spin the prayer wheels at the Bodhanath Stupa and eat the delicious free food with Mrs. Sok at the Gurdwara Bangla Sahib temple. But even if you can't, I hope you'll remember who they are, where they are, that they are, that their traditions, their beliefs matter, their lives just as real as ours. I hope you'll remember they have inherent worth and dignity. I hope you'll remember that we are interconnected. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
In the sanctuary, the offering will now be given and received so that we may take care of our beloved community and our vital mission.
Our closing words are a poem that was written in the 13th century by Islamic scholar Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi. It's titled One Song.
Every war and every conflict between human beings has happened because of some disagreement about names. It is such an unnecessary foolishness because just beyond the arguing, there is a long table of companionship set and waiting for us to sit down.
What is praised is one, so the praise is one too. Many jugs being poured into a huge basin. All religions, all this singing, one song. The differences are just illusion and vanity. Sunlight looks a little different on this wall than it does on that wall, and a lot different on this other one, but it is still one light.
We have borrowed these clothes, these time and space personalities from a light, and when we praise, we are pouring them back in.
Thank you, Allison, for finding and choosing that quote. Who is extinguishing our chalice today?
Miss Virginia.
It's Virginia, yay! We invite you all to say our chalice extinguishing as Virginia extinguishes our chalice. The words are in your order of service online. They're in the text chat. And there are dance moves, should you choose to do them. The one, how's it go? Is it here? And then this. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry on our hearts and out into the world. Thank you, Tim.